the Spiritans bring enthusiasm and commitment to champion the disadvantaged and marginalized in our own communities and around the world. In San Diego, an important program originates from the University of San Diego. William Headley is a sociologist, counselor, and Spiritan priest. He has a broad background in church leadership, justice, peace, and international aid, with experience in over 70 countries. Professor Headley established a graduate program in conflict resolution and peace studies at Duquesne University in 1993. In 2007, Bill became the founding dean of the Joan B. Kroc School of Peace Studies at the University of San Diego. That School of Peace Studies is the first academic school of peace in the U.S.A.
I was, at one point, the International Justice and Peace Coordinator for the congregation in Rome. As a matter of fact, the first one. And that got me sensitized to many of the difficulties that were going on in the world. And I was, in fact, doing a series of workshops in Nigeria, which is a very large and diverse province of ours in Africa, West Africa, of course. And during that time, I saw Christians and Muslims killing each other at that point. And while I was already the Justice and Peace Coordinator for the community, the fact is that most of the work was in the justice realm. Latin America, with its liberation theology, was very strong at that time. And so while we spoke of justice and peace, the truth was most of our work was on the justice side. There I was in Nigeria, and I was seeing killings. I asked my brother Spiritans there who was serving that particular ministry. And it was like the question that you shouldn't ask. I did, but it stuck in my mind, and when I went back to Rome, I continued to reflect on this, and in fact, when I came home on sabbatical, finishing that ministry, I decided that I would focus on that work. I did, and I went to Duquesne University and taught in that area, founded a program in conflict resolution at the university. Then later on was called to service at Catholic Relief Services. They had been in Rwanda for 30 years doing relief and development work. I had said to them, because I had seen this situation of conflict in Africa at that point, but they said their work was relief and development, and that's all they were going to do. And then suddenly they had been in Rwanda for 30 years. There was the genocide, of course, that we sadly know about only too well. And they lost everything. And so a very shook president called anybody in that knew something about that. I began to serve them as a consultant while still at Duquesne University teaching, and then eventually I came with them and was with them for 6 years. It was there in that position that I received a call to come out here and found the School of Peace Studies. I served as the founding dean for 5 years, and then after that stepped down, took a sabbatical, and came back now as a full professor teaching in interreligious peace building. That's what I'm teaching now. We have here not only an academic program, that is to say a master's degree program, that now are doing an undergraduate effort, but we have also 2 institutes. One is called the Institute for Justice and Peace, which is very much a practical outreach program. On the other side of it, it's called the Trans-Border Institute. You're probably aware that here in San Diego, you're about 20 miles from the Mexican border. And so we're very much engaged through this institute with things in Mexico. As a matter of fact, last week I found myself in Mexico. I'd been there a number of times to work with the church in Mexico, trying to deal with the conflict that's there. Now, this is a little sharper than just the cultural bumps that we might experience here in the States. This is cartels and gangs that are working with drugs, so it's much more severe. In this particular case, we were meeting with a half a dozen bishops from different parts of the country that were experiencing the cartels and the drugs in a very severe way, and we were trying to share with them what we've learned in this broader context of a school. So it gets very close and very intimate at some point. I had been down several times to work with groups in Mexico in that same regard. One thinks, first of all, a peace is just stopping the conflict, and that's really true, and that's important, and that's what we call, though, negative peace, just stopping conflict that it's there. The other kind is what you can do to both prevent it, maybe bring it to some quiet point, and then helping with it afterwards. And those three aspects are what we oftentimes call positive or peace building, positive peace or peace building. The dimension that I chose to work on is what we're calling interreligious peace building. So many conflicts today, and sadly the ISIS situation that we're seeing in the Middle East exemplifies that rather well. Many conflicts have a religious dimension to that, and that particular dimension is what I study and what I teach. 1/3 of them are always internationals. The others are here. Oftentimes there are people that are working professionally in this area and sort of got into it in a very practical way or practiced way, and then want to get some more deeper theoretical understanding of it, and they come and serve in that capacity. So you might break it into three different groups. One is the international students that come over, largely but not exclusively from Africa, Asia. I had, in this last class, I had someone from Burkina Faso in my class, and there was a young woman from Azerbaijan in Asia. And so they would come, they would be the international students, and then those students that were just out of college and wanted to enter into a new career, and then there were professionals that wanted to give a certain direction to the kind of work that they were doing now. And so it's a number of students each year, and we've been going on now since 2007 is when it founded. In a world where we talk endlessly about difficulty getting jobs, we really work a lot with them as they come to the end of their academic program, seeing what they might go into. If they go to Africa or Asia, it's easier to see. Usually they have more education and more specialized education than the people they go back to. So they'll take maybe government positions, or they'll go to a university themselves, or they'll go with an NGO, a non-government institution or organization. The ones here do the same sort of thing, including teaching here, but it's a little harder for them here. But they do get into work. A young lady I saw just over the last few days is working for an interreligious group up in Boston at this particular time, and she's doing really well. I was delighted to see her. Another student of mine is working in a university, and she's working in the development area, which is, of course, fundraising. And so you meet these students, and you're just delighted to see how they've come. I had a student from Duquesne University also, and she was with the UN, an Indian woman, and she's now working for the UN. The last position was in North Korea. So they do get some interesting works and activities. I would like to bring greater peace to troubled parts of the world, and I can't do this myself anymore. I realize that I'm getting older and a bit more limited somehow, but still I can share whatever knowledge and perhaps even wisdom and experience I have over the years and share it with them. Oftentimes I have to stop myself in class because I'm saying I have to stop telling stories, and they say, no, the stories exemplify the theory and that you're sharing with us also. And so that's what I hope that they'll do. And the examples that I gave you are very much the sort of thing that I would like to see happen. Justice and peace is very much part of our ministry. It's written into our spirit and rule of life that we should tend in a special way to justice and peace issues. So for me to have worked in that area and now teaching others to go into that area, it's very much in accord with it. And so my superiors have no difficulty with me being here and being in this particular kind of work.